Introduction. By raising our students' awareness of reading as a skill that requires active engagement, and by teaching explicable reading strategies, we help our students to develop good pronunciation, articulation, rhythm, fluency, and accuracy. Goals. Good pronunciation. Use of appropriate rhythm and stress to achieve well-paced, fluent reading. To build important literacy skills such as comprehension. Process. Select topics which are related to students' interests and experiences, or explore universal contemporary themes and issues. During reading, read with a purpose in mind and give complete attention to the reading task. Create visual images. Focus on unity and coherence, articulation, and good pronunciation. Identify with and develop an understanding of the character's story. After reading, reread important words when necessary. Paraphrase and summarize major ideas. Recognize how particular elements create moods or tones. Seek additional information from other sources as needed or desired.
Page 4. Language confusion. Laura is at the airport. She waits for her flight. Her flight is to Berlin, and it is 4 hours away. Laura walks around the airport and looks at the shops. She has a nice time. After an hour, she wants to visit the bathroom. She searches for it, but she doesn't find it. Where is the bathroom? She asks herself. She looks and looks, but she can't find it. She starts asking people where it is. Laura. Excuse me, sir. Could you please tell me where the bathroom? Man. You mean the restroom, right? Laura. No, I mean the bathroom. Man. Well, the restroom is over there, he says and walks away. Laura doesn't understand. She asks a lady, Excuse me, madam, could you please tell me where the bathroom is? The restroom is over there, the lady answers and walks away. Laura is confused. What's their problem? I need to use the bathroom and they send me to rest? I don't need a restroom, I need the bathroom. After a while, Laura gives up. She feels tired of all this walking and asking. She decides that maybe they are all right and she does need to rest. She walks to the restroom. Now she is surprised. She realizes the restroom is actually the name for a public bathroom. Page 6. Emily's secret. Emily is 8 years old. She lives in a big house. She has a huge room. She has many toys and she has a lot of friends. But Emily is not happy. She has a secret. She doesn't want to tell anyone about her secret. She feels embarrassed. The problem is that if nobody knows about it, there is no one that can help her. Emily doesn't write her homework. When there is an exam, she gets sick. She doesn't tell anyone, but the truth is she can't read and write. Emily doesn't remember the letters of the alphabet. One day, Emily's teacher finds out. She sees that Emily can't write on the board. She calls her after class and asks her to tell the truth. Emily says, "It is true. I don't know how to read and write." The teacher listens to her. She wants to help Emily. She tells her, "That's okay. You can read and write if we practice together." So Emily and her teacher meet every day after class. They practice together. Emily works hard. Now she knows how to read and write. Page 8. Gorilla. The gorilla is an ape who is man-like, called anthropoids, and is the largest and most powerful of the primates, the mammal order. There are other human traits such as their own social system and social organizations. In their society, they have established and appointed different social positions. Just as we would elect the president of our country, so would a group of gorilla select their leader. The gorilla, like man, will bend his brow when he is unhappy. According to the report of scientists, the gorilla has different emotional reaction like a child. As they like to live together, they rarely quarrel among themselves. Nevertheless, they have the temperament of a human child. The gorilla spends most of its life on the ground, although it is able to climb trees. The animals move around in bands consisting of a large male accompanied by one or two females and their young of various age. A new camp is prepared each evening. A group of gorillas will rarely spend 2 nights in succession in the same spot. The gorilla is generally considered to be lower in intelligence than the chimpanzee and the orangutan. Although there are instances where the gorilla has exhibited considerable mental ability, it is not mechanically inclined like the orangutan or a showman like the chimpanzee. A young gorilla is exceedingly playful like a child, and it is afraid of being left alone in the dark as a child. Page 10. Soccer tryouts. Howard was never the athletic type. In fact, he was always the fat kid. People made fun of him for his size. Howard wanted to change that. He wanted to be more healthy. He wanted to get into sports. He saw a flyer for soccer tryouts. Howard never played soccer, but he watched it on TV. Howard had 1 week to get ready before tryouts. He watched soccer games on his TV for 2 hours. He bought a soccer ball and kicked it around at home and at the park. He bought the book How to Play Soccer. He asked his dad to play with him too. Howard felt like he was a great soccer player. He was ready. He went to tryouts. There were at least 50 boys trying out. Howard got nervous. They all looked like they knew what they were doing. They could bounce the ball on their heads, juggle the ball with their knees, and kick the ball far. The coach set up a game for the boys to play. Howard was on the red team. Someone passed the ball to Howard. Howard stopped in the middle of the field. "What are you doing, man?" his teammate asked. Howard took a deep breath and told himself he could do it. Howard got his head back into the game. He caught the ball with his foot and made a goal. He couldn't believe it. No one could. Howard made the team. Page 12. A yes man. Paul tried hard to please everyone and had a hard time saying no to anything. When people asked him to do exciting things, Paul said yes, so people would think he's a fun guy. He also said yes to exciting things because he thought life was too short to not try new things. When people asked him to do favors for them, Paul said yes because he wanted people to like him. His agreement to everything was a big problem when he was busy with homework, chores, or any other personal commitments. One time, he had a test that was worth 50% of his final grade, and the day before it, he decided to go skydiving with his neighbor. Skydiving took about 5 hours, and Paul couldn't get home until 11 p.m. By then, he was tired and found it hard to focus on studying. Another time, Paul's friend asked if he could turn in her paper for her at 3 p.m. Paul had to be at his soccer game at 3:10 p.m. Any other person would have said no, but not Paul. Paul turned in the paper for his friend, ran to the gym to change, and then arrived at the soccer game 10 minutes late. Page 14. First time at Disneyland. Disneyland is an iconic place. There are only a few Disney resorts in the world. There is one in California, Florida, Japan, France, and Hong Kong. The one in Florida was the largest. Kids, teens, and adults all like Disneyland. There is something at Disneyland for everyone, which is like any other amusement park. Sunny had never been to Disneyland. She remembered when everyone was talking about Disneyland in her 2nd grade. They were talking about the rides, fireworks, and scenery there. Sunny felt so left out of the conversation. Her parents never took her because it was too expensive. One time, her friend invited her to go, but Sunny did not want to spend so much money at one time. Now Sunny was 18 and had a job as a cashier. She wasn't making a lot, but she saved just over $800 in her bank account. Sunny invited her closest friends to go to Disneyland with her. They went on a Thursday, so the lines were shorter. Sunny immediately fell in love with Disneyland. It was a dream that came true. It was everything her friends said it would be. Sunny went on almost all the rides and took pictures with all the Disney mascots. At the end of the day, she and her friends watched the fireworks. Page 16. Animal lovers. Over half the homes in Britain have pets, and as a result, the British spend almost £1,000 million a year on domestic animals. In fact, many people treat their pets like members of the family. Pets can actually enhance our lives and health. Childless couples often keep a pet because they need to play the role of a parent to strengthen their identity as couple. Lonely elderly people may keep a pet, such as a cat or a dog, for company or protection. Pets have also been used in therapy to help retarded youngsters develop a sense of responsibility and self-worth. However, while we treat our own animals with love and devotion, do we care about the way the society at large treats animals? In 2000, almost 3 million experiments on animals took place. These included warfare experiments and the testing of drugs, cosmetics, and cleaning fluids. Animals are also slaughtered for their meat, skins, and fur. In many cases, these animals are kept in terrible conditions and are cruelly treated by private companies and governments alike. However, thanks to PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, an Uncaged organization which fights vivisection in the UK, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. With slogans like, "Buy a fur and slip into something dead," or brochures on the cruelty of vivisection, these organizations are forcing consumers, private industry, and governments to examine their consciences. Page 18. What is an earthquake? An earthquake is a sudden movement in the Earth's crust which produces vibration. These vibrations may be detectable only by sensitive instruments called seismographs, or they may kill thousands as they destroy cities. Many earthquakes are caused when rocks move along faults. Severe earthquakes are most common near the edges of the plates in the Earth's crust, such as around the Pacific Ocean, along the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, and in the Mediterranean and Southwest Asian regions. They occur when the plates move. Some earthquakes are caused by volcanic action, explosions, and other factors. Earthquakes under the sea trigger huge waves called tsunamis. Page 19. Pyramids. The Great Pyramid at Giza is one of the world's most amazing landmarks. Rising high above the Sahara Desert in the Giza region of northern Egypt, the Great Pyramid stands some 450 feet into the burning desert sky and occupies an area of 13 acres. The rough climate of the Sahara has actually caused the pyramid to shrink 30 feet from its original height. The pyramid was such an amazing feat of engineering that it remained the tallest structure in the world for over 3,800 years. The entire pyramid was originally faced with polished limestone to make it shine brilliantly in the sun. Most Egyptologists, scientists who study ancient Egypt, agree that the Great Pyramid was built around 2560 BC, a little more than 4,500 years ago. It took tens of thousands of workers 20 years to build. The pyramid contains over 2 million stone blocks. Although most of the blocks weigh 2 or 3 tons, some weigh up to 80 tons. The Great Pyramid of Giza was ordered built by the pharaoh Khufu as a magnificent tomb. His vizier, advisor, Haman, is credited with being the pyramid's architect. Khufu's pyramid is actually part of a complex of pyramids that includes the Pyramid of Khafre, the smaller Pyramid of Menkaure, a variety of smaller pyramids and structures, and the Great Sphinx. The Great Pyramid of Giza is the last remaining of the 7 wonders of the world. Page 21. Experimenting on animals. Life processes are similar in all animals with backbones. So, physiologists can find out a lot about the human body by studying animals such as frogs, rats, and rabbits. Sometimes research involves the death of these animals, but physiologists take great care not to hurt the animals. The animals are usually put to sleep during the experiments so they do not feel pain. Many people think animals should not be used for experiments, but it is only by physiological research that medicine has been able to advance. Polio is a disease that attacks the nerves. Millions of people have been protected from polio by a fluid called a vaccine. Tissue from monkeys is used to make the vaccine. Page 22. The longest wall in the world. The Great Wall of China winds across the country like a giant stone snake. It is 2,400 kilometers long. The wall crosses mountains and rivers. It reaches from the ocean on the east to the desert on the west. The Chinese began their wall more than 2,000 years ago. They worked on it for hundreds of years. The Chinese wanted to keep out their enemies. At the bottom, the wall is 25 feet wide. At the top, it is about 15 feet wide. The sides of the wall are made of stone and brick, while the inside is filled with earth. Parts of the wall rise as high as a 3-story building. Placed 100 yards apart are tall towers. Lookouts could stand in the towers to watch for enemies approaching. The road on top of the wall is wide enough for 2 wagons to pass. If we were to build such a wall now, we would use modern machines, but the Chinese had to build the wall by hand. If the wall were in the United States, it would reach from the state of New York to Nebraska. The Great Wall of China is the longest wall that has ever been built. Page 24. Hacker steals millions. The man was a hacker. He was a thief. He knew computers. He knew them inside out. He was like a pickpocket. He picked everyone's pocket. He picked everyone's bank account in America. Everyone with a bank account lost money. Millions of Americans have bank accounts. All of these Americans lost money, but they didn't know it. Not a single victim noticed the theft. Not a single victim called the police. "We got lucky," said a police detective. "He cheated on his fiancée. She called us. But we're unlucky too. We have no evidence. We only have her story. He might get away with his crime. He might get away with millions. He transferred all the money to another country. There's no way we can trace the money. He is very smart. Why? He stole only 1 penny from every bank account in America. Who cares about a penny?" Page 26. The Donkey and the Little Dog. A man had a little dog, and he was very fond of it. He would pat its head and take it on his knee and talk to it. Then he would give it little bits of food from his own plate. A donkey looked in the window and saw the man and the dog. "Why does he not make a pet of me?" said the donkey. "It is not fair. I work hard, and the dog only wags its tail and barks and jumps on its master's knee. It is not fair." Then the donkey said to himself, "If I do what the dog does, he may make a pet of me." So the donkey ran into the room. It brayed as loudly as it could. It wagged its tail so hard that it knocked over a jar on the table. Then it tried to jump onto its master's knee. The master thought the donkey was mad, and he shouted, "Help! Help!" Men came running in with sticks, and they beat the donkey till it ran out of the house, and they drove it back to the field. "I only did what the dog does," said the donkey, "and yet they made a pet of the dog, and they beat me with sticks. It is not fair." Page 28. Hide and seek. In the wild, it often comes down to predator and prey, the hunter and the hunted. As you can imagine, most organisms want to stay alive. They have developed ways of adapting to severe habitats and hiding or escaping from those who would like to eat them. So how do they do it? One very helpful adaptation is called camouflage. You may have been surprised by an animal that was using camouflage in the past. It blended into its surroundings so well that you nearly missed seeing it at all. Its coloring, marking, or other physical features resemble its habitat so much that you can look directly at it without seeing it at first. This is often good enough to fool a predator that is scanning an area to look for food. This helps prey to hide from its predator. But did you know that it often works the other way around too? Predators can use camouflage to trap their prey. If a predator wants to eat a certain animal, and that animal cannot see it lying in watch, it can pounce on its prey unexpectedly, devouring it before it even knows what is happening. Another popular adaptation is mimicry. Mimicry is when an animal has markings or other physical characteristics that allow it to look like some other kind of animal or plant. If it can make its predators believe that it is something that preys on them, or would at least be difficult or painful to catch, its predator will often go off in search of an easier target. Sometimes animals are able to survive when their habitat changes because they adapt to the new conditions. For example, birds that were accustomed to nesting on high cliffs or in tall trees have survived industrialization of their habitat by learning to nest in the crevices of tall buildings. Raccoons easily adapt to residential areas that they have taken over their woodland homes. They often help themselves to any food they can grab, whether it is in trash cans or inside people's homes. Page 31. Japan's most famous dog. In front of the enormous Shibuya train station in Tokyo, there is a life-size bronze statue of a dog. Even though the statue is very small when compared to the huge neon signs flashing, it isn't difficult to find. It has been used as a meeting point since 1934, and today you will find hundreds of people waiting there for their friends to arrive. Just look for the crowds. Hashiko, an Atika dog, was born in 1923 and brought to Tokyo in 1924. His owner, Professor Ishaburo Ueno, and he were inseparable friends right from the start. Each day, Hashiko would accompany his owner, a professor at the Imperial University, to Shibuya train station when he left for work. When he came back, the professor would always find the dog patiently waiting for him. Sadly, the professor died suddenly at work in 1925 before he could return home. Although Hashiko was still a young dog, the bond between him and his owner was very strong, and he continued to wait at the station every day. Sometimes he would stay there for days at a time, though some believed that he kept returning because of the food he was given by street vendors. He became a familiar sight to commuters over time. In 1934, a statue of him was put outside the station. In 1935, Hashiko died at the place he last saw his friend alive. Page 33. The Mummies of Osiris. The people of ancient Egypt believed in life after death. When people died, they went to live with Osiris, the god of the underworld. In the underworld, they would keep the same bodies in which they died. The priests of Osiris knew how to keep bodies from decaying. They used chemicals to take the moisture out of the body. Then they washed the body and spread oil over it. Finally, they wrapped the body in cloth, making it into a mummy. Once the mummy was wrapped, it was placed in a coffin. Egyptians thought they would need the same kinds of things in the afterlife as they did before they died. Therefore, people surrounded the coffin with useful objects such as bowls, pots, clothing, and with beautiful objects such as gold and jewelry. When a king died, the mummy was placed in a stone tomb called a pyramid. Modern archaeologists have found some of these tombs. They are filled with wonderful treasures as well as household goods. And, of course, they also contain the mummies of long-dead kings. Thousands of years after they died, these kings are teaching us about their world. The mummies are so well preserved that scientists can tell what they ate and how their doctors set broken bones. We owe a great deal to the priests of Osiris.